The edge of civilization, at least until you get to Portugal. Oh look, that's me. I have sand in my shoes. Hi, you caught me in the middle of something here, but you know what? That's fine. So recently something interesting happened to me. I got some fan mail. It actually struck me out. In fact, I wanted to make a video about it. It was so interesting. Hi, I've been watching your content for a while now. I hope you're well. I've recently met up with some friends that I haven't seen in a few years. We gathered at the airport, caught up with each other, drove around in our friend's Honda, and talked some more. At first, we mostly talked about stuff that we were watching, or discussing a new hobby one of us was interested in. But honestly, there wasn't much we had in common. I watched YouTube, they watched TV, that sort of thing. I struggle a lot with depression, and I eventually started clicking out with what everyone was talking about. Most of my conversations at this point were between the friend I was closest to. We still texted each other often, and I was talking to him in the backseat while the friends up front were talking about cars. We all stopped to sit down and eat, and I began to open up about some issues I've been having. About 5 minutes in, my friend stops me and tells me, "You've been complaining ever since we've got here." I abruptly stopped talking and ate without saying much else. My friend must have thought he was being harsh and gave some words of encouragement after. But he's right. All I do is complain. I can't blame him either. I've had friends come to me about issues they have, and I understand needing a shoulder to cry on. And it becomes a bad habit for them very easily, but I can't ignore these issues I have. Sometimes they're all I think about, and if I keep it to myself, I'm afraid of what could happen. Therapy is obviously a great start, but it's easier said than done, at least for the time being. Am I being cynical? How do I stop complaining and talk to people I care about without my life getting in the way? What kind of fan mail is that? I don't know. But it was interesting, so I wanted to talk about it. Why did the beaches have to have sand if it gets in your shoes? Why couldn't it have giant rocks like the British people do? Actually, you know what? I wouldn't want that at all. You know, it's just a beautiful day. Sun's out, beaches calm, weather's clear as day. It couldn't be a better day. But I had to reroute my walking path because a guy was standing there, and I don't want to look weird around him. It's weird that I'm holding a camera like this and walking down the street. People might be looking at me right now. People might think I'm a little self-centered. People might think I'm a little crazy. Now, there's a lot of things here that sound pretty vague in my opinion, but from what I can gather, you're probably complaining to your friend longer than 5 minutes. I don't want to accuse you of anything, but it sounded like you were saying enough to your friend for him to give you a life check. Firstly, I would be a lot more conscious in what you're talking about to other people. I'm not gonna lie, your friend probably was frustrated or annoyed, considering he tried to reconcile later. He definitely said that because he cared about you. In case you were wondering, your friend cares about you. Scared the shit out of me. Something just hissed. And I just keep going back to this email, taking more and more mental notes because there are parts of this I connect to. It's kind of frustrating how annoying humility is. Because what's considered not humble, being egotistical, not acknowledging that you have any flaws, that you're perfect. That's the standard of being not humble. So humility, in return, is acknowledging your flaws, being self-deprecating, even being self-loathing. Because humility is considered being normal, it's considered being modest as a person, but there comes a point where you're just saying too much. You're saying too many flaws, you're pushing out too many flaws about yourself, right? And suddenly, you don't become humble anymore, you become self-centered again. You're egotistical, just like the person who says they have no flaws, except you have too many flaws. You can only talk about yourself, you only care about yourself, just like the person who has no flaws. I love complaining. I couldn't complain enough even if I wanted to. I can't stop complaining. Jeez, I can't stop complaining. I love complaining. Gosh. Because in a way, complaining is almost like trying to diagnose a problem you have, but you're trying to word it out. And I guess there's more to life than complaining. I suppose you could do other things than complain. People prefer that. And honestly, I don't know a lot about you. I don't know if you're scared of like becoming a narcissist or whatever, but you seem to have enough awareness to at least try to be normal. Try to fix this issue you have. Let me answer some things you asked in the email. Are you cynical? I'm going to say no because you want to change yourself for the better. But also your other friends. You also have friends who come to you and ventilate problems. You know, it's a thing people do. That's just a normal thing that people do. Sometimes you have issues that you just need to get out there and say to other people. But you get annoyed when your friends complain to you too much. So I understand you have enough self-awareness. You don't want to be that annoying person. You don't want to be seen as annoying. No one wants to be seen as annoying. Let's be honest here. Everyone's biggest interest is themselves. When you're talking to someone, your biggest goal is to maintain a fine line between talking about yourself and talking about them. Because if you indulge in them too much, they get a little too comfortable. You know, it might be considered love bombing in some cases. And when they get too comfortable, it's like your friends who start venting too much. So going back to your friend, I think he was in the right telling you this. If all you're doing is complaining, then at some point it becomes more about yourself than your issues. From what I can tell, you obviously want therapy, but from what it seems, you're trying to find another solution at the moment before you can get to that. I understand. If I wanted to complain right now, I was gonna make another video this week, but guess what? When I brought my laptop, I forgot an audio file that was the good audio. And if a video has bad audio, no one watches it. I'm telling you right now, audio is way more important than the video, more than you think, okay? Go to a video and see how many wacky sound effects they put out. I don't know. I don't pay attention either. So now I had to figure out a new video to make this week. And guess what? It's this video. It's this video I got of someone giving me mail, and now I'm answering the mail. And honestly, even though the sun is out and it's beautiful, it's starting to get hot. Starting to get really hot. And also I'm beside a highway right now. It's a little loud. That's frustrating, isn't it? Trying to record. Highway's a little too loud. Arms getting stiff, trying to walk. The only thing that could make this better is if I record the perfect sunset. I think that'll make my day better. I think that'll get rid of all of those qualms I have, all of those pesky little qualms I have. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the cure to depression, as much as I would love to have that. Now, another issue is that the social balance between you and the person you're talking to isn't necessarily the same social balance as the person you're talking to. Sometimes you're on different wavelengths, and it's hard to connect to them. Case in point, your friends, your other friends, that they're talking about cars and stuff, and you have no interest in them. Sometimes the balance is off, and I know you'd probably love to reset your brain and talk to your other friends, but if it were that easy, you would have done it already. Just because you're talking to someone else about something else doesn't mean you're ignoring these issues. Your issues are obviously important, but they're not important enough to engulf your life, because if they do engulf your life, then it's doing what you're afraid of it doing. And yeah, as much as I love complaining, I hate it when other people complain to me. It depends. As much as I love complaining to other people, when they come to me about their problems, sometimes it becomes too much, and sometimes it becomes the same problem. And the worst thing that could possibly happen is if you come up to someone and you talk about a problem. Then the next week, you come up to them and you talk about the same problem. And next week, the same problem, so on and so forth. If you keep talking to them about the same exact thing, not saying you are, but if you do, they get annoyed even more, even faster. Maybe you were complaining to this guy for 5 minutes, but it was something you've already complained about to him. You said you texted him a lot, right? So maybe this is an issue you already discussed, and there's not really enough new stuff to be interesting about. It's just being hung up on the same issues. And you know what's funny? I was watching a documentary about Boogie 2988. Pretty popular one by Mike Chum, I think. Mike Chum it is. Watching Boogie change the way that he did is nothing short of mind-boggling.
Now, I think it's important to note here that that is the reason that this has happened, but it is not an excuse. There is no excuse for what I've done. I was brought into this world with just one body, and I have effectively ruined it. And not only have I caused myself a ton of mental and physical anguish because of it, but the people who love me and count on me, they suffered too, and that includes... I'm in tremendous pain! I'm in tremendous pain! Help me! Help me! Help me! I'm in so much pain! I'm in so much pain! I'm in so much pain!
I don't know if he was always a narcissist, but he clearly let his demons win at some point. But whenever I get called out for complaining too much, because I have been called out for complaining too much also, I think about Boogie. I think about the modern day Boogie, how much he's complained about every single thing about himself.
Are you still, wait, what about working out though?
Do I look like someone's gonna work out? I have arthritis in my knees, I have arthritis in my back, I can barely stand.
How everything about him is a sort of fear-mongering about his identity. Everything he does, it's gotta be about him and him only. Also, another thing to complain about this shirt, why is the neck collar stretched out so much? I could show my teddies with this damn collar. But back to Boogie, in the last 5 years, he has basically assimilated himself to become a textbook narcissist. I've gotten to the point where sometimes I can tell when I complain too much to someone, and I immediately start thinking about Boogie. I immediately start thinking about this guy that just complains about every single thing about themselves. And I start getting scared like, oh my gosh, am I becoming him? Am I becoming a narcissist? Because naturally, narcissists are scared of becoming narcissists. That's how that works, right? But between you and I, there's clearly enough self-awareness to improve, to at least have a desire to improve from just complaining all the time if you think you complain all the time. If people aren't interested in what you're talking about, find a way to make it interesting. Hi, he's got me in the closet. People really love complaining depending on the topic. Usually if it's not about yourself and about something else, people can usually agree. Like if I made another YouTube rant right now, I'd be rolling in the dough. Maybe I would be rolling in the dough. Maybe I should complain about you to begin. Find a reason to complain about it. I've actually been doing pretty good on YouTube. I'm not that frustrated. But maybe that's how we bond. Maybe that's how we bond as people. Finding things we have in common and just complaining. But when it comes to a time and place, maybe it's more about the subject. So complaining, it's not always a bad thing. What about those people in the car? What about your friends in the car talking about cars? Were they talking about how cool they were, or were they complaining about new cars? And now this isn't necessarily a solution to, complaining about yourself, but just know, complaining is normal, and it's not just normal, but it actually can be a great social bond. You think about holidays and stuff, how about Valentine's Day is about love, Christmas is about giving, Thanksgiving is about giving thanks, but there's no holiday about complaining. There's no holiday where you celebrate complaining. Thanksgiving, at least in American tradition, you celebrate giving thanks to people, your family, whatever, but there's no holiday where you complain. Unless, depending on your family, yeah, that's just Thanksgiving. And although it can be called complaining, sometimes you do need to come out about your problems. Because if you don't, like you said, you'll self-destruct. The weight becomes too much. And as time goes on, maybe the baggage gets heavier. Baggage is different for other people. Some are used to a lot of baggage. It's in their blood. Some people, they have no baggage until, one day they turn 23 and something bad happens and they don't know how to deal with it. For others, you have to learn how to adjust, and for yourself, you have to learn how to adjust. And I know I'm not the best person to answer any of this, but you know what? I kind of need a video this week. You know what? If you didn't make this, I would have been complaining right now. I would have been saying to myself like, oh my gosh, oh, I didn't have an audio for this video. Oh, I have this video idea, but I won't be able to make it, So just know your complaining is not in vain. Sometimes it is necessary to get your feelings out there. It is a way to socialize with others. And the more you socialize with others, the more ideas you get, the more inspired you are. But it has to come from a place of optimism. And that's where you can't be cynical about the problems you have. If you do feel like you are complaining too much, it's at least important to know that you're trying to find solutions to these things you're talking about. Because if you aren't, then yeah, you are just kind of yapping about and doing nothing to fix yourself, just like Boogie. Just like Boogie 2988.
我有自己嘅原則，我就唔想成世俾人撳住嚟打。你好中意同佢慳咩？衰咗3年，我等一個機會慳咩？我就唔想成世俾人撳住嚟打。
How did he change like that? It's got to be opioids or something. It can't just, whatever he's replaced Mountain Dew with is so much worse. So much worse. And here goes nothing. Let's see how this video does. I tried to change up my background as much as possible to make this look interesting visually. Press the button and it goes off.
No, Scout! Boogie, keep your chin up, man. You'll get through this. We all go through the storm sometimes.